The last concept we're going to cover is called layer mask. We use layer masks to hide or show the content in the layer below without actually erasing any content. And you can probably already infer that by definition, this method itself is also non-destructive. Part of the reason why I really love digital design is the flexibility. So whenever I do have a choice between destructive and non-destructive methods, I always go for non-destructive. So masking is another non-destructive method that can really transform the way you work. And to help you to understand how masking works, it actually makes sense to come over to Procreate first. So over here, I have a simple setup, which I will make this file available for you to download as well, so you can play with it. So if we open the layers panel over here, you will see the layer structures. On the very top, we have the layer that's called scratch here. I don't know if you're familiar with the scratch off ticket, like a lottery ticket, something like that. It basically has a protective coating that is opaque at the very top, where you cannot see the number below. But as you scratch off with a coin or fingernails, and you will be able to reveal what is underneath. So the second layer we have is called lucky number. I'm just gonna turn off the first layer to show you. So this is the lucky number I have. And the third layer is just a background. I'm just gonna turn it on and off so you can see what I mean by that. So to create a masking layer, we're going to give ourselves ability to reveal and conceal a certain layer. For example, let's create a masking layer for the very top layer, which is called scratch here. You can click on the thumbnail over here, and under the layer option menu, there's mask that you can click. And you will see that automatically there is another layer called layer mask created above the top layer. It doesn't make any visual difference because automatically it's colored white, which means that everything you have on the parent layer will be shown. Now you want to select your paint color to be black. When you're in layer mask mode, whatever color you select will be translated to grayscale mode. I'll explain what that means in a second, but as for now, let's go with black and white. I'm just gonna select the color black over here and make sure I have my layer mask selected. Even though they highlight both layers, whenever you click one of them, the other one is also highlighted. This time I just want to highlight the layer mask because I'm about to draw with black color on the mask. And I increase the size of my brush, make sure it's a big fluffy brush, and I'm just gonna draw as if I'm scratching. As you can see, this basically scratched off the top layer. It functions very much like eraser, but the eraser is destructive. If you do the same thing with the eraser, the whole thing comes off. You actually erase that pixels. But if you're using a mask, you're actually only messing with the visibility, not really the actual pixels, which means that you can always restore the original look by painting it back with white paint. I'm just gonna select the white over here and kind of paints back, kind of unscratch what we have just done. And to make it quicker, you can always fill the layer. Click the thumbnail of the layer mask and the fill layer with the white color, and it will undo whatever we have done. That's the nature of the non-destructive method. So this is really helpful when you want to reveal parts of your layer below without actually doing any damage to the layer above. To help you remember, some people say white reveals, black conceals. If that works for you, great. But I've never really remember how the pairing works. So I always like to just create a layer mask and color it with either black and white and test it with the opposite color. So I have my layer mask in white and I'm just going to paint black on it to see if this is what I'm looking for. If it's not, I just flip the color. That can sound cumbersome, but I feel like that's the easiest way for me to work. A minute ago, we talked about layer masks work in grayscale. So basically that means that unless you choose either black or white, everything else is going to be translated to grayscale. For example, if I'm clicking the blue color over here, it's going to be interpreted as darker gray. So when I do paint on my layer mask over here, make sure your layer mask is selected. It gives me a transparency. It doesn't conceal or reveal completely because I'm not using either black or white. I'm using a grayscale. So that's another fun fact about layer mask. There are many scenarios where you can use a layer mask. For instance, if you have a piece of artwork here on your primary layer and you don't want to show the entirety of it, but only parts of it for now, you can create a mask layer above. And you can use black to block and white to reveal. Whenever you don't know which is which, just color the layer white or black and use the opposite color to test it. There's a quicker way to do that. You can come over to the layer mask menu and click on the thumbnail and select the invert. It will switch the black and white color. So in turn, you will have the concealed area and revealed area switched as well. That being said, the layer mask does count towards the maximum layer counts. So whenever you're short on layers and if you reach your maximum layer counts, you can actually merge both layers into one layer. For example, over here, you can click on the thumbnail of the layer mask and click merge down. And that will reduce the two layers into one and free up one additional layer for you. I'm just going to undo that. You can also transform both of them at the same time by selecting the arrow over here. And you can just do your normal transformation stuff. And you can see the panel options over here as well. Whenever you want to delete your layer mask, you can just swipe left and click delete. Having a layer mask doesn't affect the normal options for your primary layer. For example, if you want to turn on alpha lock on the primary layer, you can still do that. And I'm just gonna give it a bright pink color to demonstrate what that means. So I'm just gonna draw across the scratch here layer. And you can see the alpha lock still works normally. If you turn off the visibility of your layer mask, you can see that the alpha lock functions just as normal. The layer mask only changes the visibility of the layer below, not really altering any pixels. Like any other normal layer, a parent of a layer mask can also be turned into a clipping mask for the layer below. If this is too much information for you, I totally get it. Just remember that having a layer mask doesn't reduce the functionality of the parent layer. So maybe later on you can experiment different type of masking and alpha lock on top of each other, and you will be able to understand better. And whenever you want to merge layer mask and the primary layer, you can also work from the primary layer by selecting merge mask over here. And it will combine the two layers together. So before we go into a few case studies, I want to give you another concrete example of how mask works so that you can leave with a solid impression. So over here, we have a layer that is colored as ombre effect. It basically has a few shades of green. And I want to create a layer mask on this layer. By default, it will color the mask in white, which visually doesn't change anything. For our purpose, I'm gonna color it black. So actually our ombre layer is entirely blocked. And I want to write with my white color to reveal as my pen travels. You want to make sure you have the layer mask selected, and you can write whatever word you want. I'm just gonna write the word mask. As you can see, wherever my white pen touches, it reveals the layer below. So this is a quick way to create an ombre effect. You probably have seen the watercolor effect people create on actual watercolor paper. So this is a fun digital version of that where you can create in seconds. So that's how masks work. Just remember that they work with the visibility of the layer below, not really altering any pixels. In the next few lessons, we're going to cover some case studies. The goal is to get you more familiar with the tools we just covered, and we will walk through all the decisions together. So hopefully that will help you to be more comfortable using these techniques in your own work. And of course, I will leave the sample files available for you to download.